News Prime.
Now, from wherever in the world you're watching, this is Joy News Prime, your most comprehensive 2 hours of television in Ghana. Coming up, President Mahama downplays public anxiety about the presence of 2 former Guantanamo terror suspects in Ghana, assuring they are not as dangerous as they are made to appear. President Mahama, who was taking questions from the media at the Flagstaff House, has meanwhile justified the taxes on petroleum products and high utility bills introduced recently as a way to address the low tax compliance culture amongst Ghanaians. Lawyer for Britain accused of murdering his TV star girlfriend accuses security establishment of abusing his client's human rights as he makes his first appearance in court.
And in business tonight, government moves to formalize suspension of taxes on investment income and the review in reporting taxes percentage. And Health Insurance Providers Association served notice they will suspend services to NHIS clients over the delay by the NHIA to pay their claims. My name is Israel Aye, and over the next 2 hours, I'd also bring you entertainment, sport, and your comments on social media, which tonight will be mainly about what the president has been saying from the Flagstaff House. Stay tuned to the bulletin, which is also available on ABN Television, on the Sky platform across Europe, as well as on Freeview Connect. President John Mahama has allayed fears about the entry into Ghana of the 2 former Guantanamo Bay detainees, insisting that enough due diligence was done before the decision to ensure the possibility of their causing any havoc in the country is almost improbable. In his very first comment about the controversial move, the president told journalists at a Flagstaff House media briefing on Tuesday he will not take any decision that will jeopardize the safety and security of the country. He also urged Ghanaians to show compassion towards the 2.
The detainees question was a direct request from the United States of America to my government. We have been allies with the United States for a very long time. It didn't start today. We have partnered in a lot of things, and we continue to collaborate in areas of security, in areas of training with our armed forces, in areas of defense. And so when we received a request like this, we said we will appraise it, and based on the appraisal, we will take a decision. Extensive consultation was held both internally and externally. A risk assessment was done by the U.S. itself, and these 2 detainees, Al-Dubi and Benatef, were considered to be the most compliant detainees in Guantanamo camp, and they were put in the lowest risk category in Guantanamo. And let me be clear, people say ex-convicts. They were never tried, they were never charged, they were never convicted. These were 20-year-old boys. At the time they were picked up, they were 20 years old. And I can imagine my own son, who is 20 years old, and the state at which he is. They were picked up, they were taken to Guantanamo, they were interrogated, and investigated, and there was no evidence with which they could be tried or charged. As Commander-in-Chief of the Ghana Armed Forces, the safety and security of this country is of the greatest concern to me, probably than any Ghanaian. I will not take any decision that would jeopardize the safety and security of this country. We must also look at the side of compassion. I'm a Christian, and in the Bible it teaches us to be compassionate to prisoners. That is, even persons who have been convicted. These people were not convicted. And so where is our Christian passion? Or where is our faith-based compassion on people that after being detained for 14 years without trial, we can't find it in our hearts, to give these people at least a chance to restart their lives. And so there's been no consideration received for accepting these detainees. And as the Commander-in-Chief of Ghana Armed Forces, I have assessed the risk. Our National Security Council briefed me. We have had several sessions with the Americans. People went to Guantanamo and personally interviewed these people. And I believe that we don't our security is not endangered because they are in our country.
Meanwhile, the three major Christian societies, the Ghana Catholic Bishops' Conference, the Christian Council of Ghana, and the Ghana Pentecostal and Charismatic Council, have asked government to demonstrate that it is a listening one by sending the two former Guantanamo Bay prisoners back to where they came from. In separate statements, the three groups said the fears and lamentations being expressed by Ghanaians over the presence of the two in Ghana are legitimate, as they pose a real threat to the country.
I don't accept it. It's a war-torn country. There are people living there. Their relatives are living there. And then nobody says that they cannot go there. The government hasn't come out to say that those people are not wanted in Yemen. So I don't buy that. Well, we will keep protesting. We will keep speaking against it. And so it's up to the president to do the right thing. If he thinks that that's the right thing for Ghana, we'll let him answer to God for it, But we think that, it's not safe to bring them here. And there was no need to bring them here. We are all Christians, and we show compassion. We show compassion to the right people. And as I said, if they were coming as refugees, for example, so if something has gone wrong with where they were, let those who did it correct it, By why bring them to Ghana? That's what I don't understand. Where they have a home, they can be sent to their own home. Compassion is good, but show compassion to those in need.
Now, President Mahama, the news conference also justified the recent taxes on petroleum products, which caused a sharp increase in prices at the pumps. The taxes were introduced shortly after utility tariffs were reviewed upwards. President Mahama was answering a question as to why Ghanaians were being burdened with so much at a time crude prices were at an 11-year low. He explained government has had to take some tough decisions, which are, however, in the best interest of the people.
With the drop from above 90 to about 32 currently, or 33, we have lost billions of cedis into the national treasury. But at the same time, it has reduced the price of petroleum products on the market. And government took a decision in July last year to deregulate the price of petroleum products. And so with the fall in the price of light crude, there has been an accompanying reduction in crude oil price, in petroleum product prices since July last year. Now, what has happened is from the time that we started a deregulation, and the last increase in transport fares, price of petroleum products have gone down by more than 37%. And so even with the introduction of the levies, the energy levy, at an average of about between 26 and 27%, we still are below the deregulation point by almost 11%. And so we've not gotten to where prices were even before. Now, let's take the energy levy. Utilities have accumulated debts over the last almost 15 to 20 years. And as a result of this accumulation of debt, it has choked the credit lines of the utility companies to an extent that VRA today cannot go to any bank and establish an LC, because I think they owe virtually every bank in Ghana. As the line got choked here, they went and opened a new account in another bank. And then they'll take the credit until it gets choked. Then they open a new account with another bank. So now no bank, any bank they go to say, hey, anymore. Now, if we want a sustainable power sector, we have to deal with that debt. You must deal with that debt. And how are we going to deal with that debt? I don't have that money. If I had, I would pay on behalf of VRA. And so we need to take that money from somewhere. And so the point is, at the time when God has blessed us to have the price go down 37%. It was still even 11% lower. We take a little money and say, look, let's all contribute and pay off this debt, because we all use that power that we are regenerated. I don't see what really we have done wrong. Aside from that, a portion of the debt, a portion of the levy is going to go to the road fund to pay arrears to contractors and also invest in the road sector. It's not every decision that would be popular. But what was I elected for as president? To take popular decisions? If I took popular decisions to make you happy with me, this country would be in the ground by now. They're tough decisions. I mean, do I take pleasure in imposing taxes on people as if, you know, you just take a pleasure in doing it? You don't. But you look at the alternative, and the alternative is worse.
President John Mahama also revealed that the issues of how to provide fuel for the power generating plants was what's currently outstanding in terms of resolving the power crisis currently facing the country. According to him, following the work that has been done, there was sufficient generation at the moment, but the major problem now was to do with providing fuel for the plants. And he stayed away from making or setting any deadlines for the complete resolution of load shedding.
Dumso, as it's called in Ghana, but the actual name is load management. When demand exceeds supply, you have a gap, and so you need to manage the load so that you don't break down the system. And it's an issue that we have faced perennially. We are as close as we are to solving the problem of Dumso. And I'm sure that for most people, from the Christmas time, you can see a very visible improvement in terms of supply. Now, a lot of the time when there's an outage, when your lights go off, it's normally because of an outage or something like that. We still have a gap. We haven't closed the gap. But I believe that in the next, touch wood, let me not predict. In the next short while, we will be able to overcome the problem of load shedding. I've learned to leave it to the technical people to talk about, and they're having a major press briefing tomorrow. They're going to brief the press on the routine maintenance a trouble plant is going to go through. It is a scheduled maintenance, and so it means gas is going to stop flowing. So they have to retune the plants there to crude oil. And normally when the plants use crude oil, they are not as efficient, and so there can be any difficulty that arises. And so we just want Ghanaians to understand that this is what is going to happen. And I'm sure when they do that address, they'll also tell you where we are currently in respect of resolving the power crisis permanently.
The Africa Center for Energy Policy, ASEP, however, says it does not believe load management, as the president chooses to call it, will end anytime soon. According to the executive director of the think tank, there are 3 hurdles that need to be overcome if load shedding will end. He was reacting to the President Mahama's plan to end the power crisis.
Well, I think it is possible we can manage it, because there are 2 issues that we need to be able to address. And then there's a third issue. Now, the first issue has to do with the generation gap. And the president is right if he said that we still have a generation issue. If Akosombo was doing, at optimal level, we certainly would have solved the generation issue by now, and then we will have some reserve margin to be able to fill in the gap anytime we have a shortfall as a result of a damage or a major fault, or if any of the existing plants are due for maintenance. If you look at these projects that are going on, and I always want to talk about our ability to mobilize money to complete these projects, because some of these projects have been ongoing since 2009. And so the ability of VRA, and as well as the private sector investors, to be able to mobilize the necessary resources to complete this project is a key determinant of how far we can go with generation expansion. Having said this on generation, the other side, which I think the president alluded to, is our ability to supply fuel, because the issue has to do with money. And I am just wondering why it has taken the president so long to finally admit that money is the cause of our energy crisis. When we have gone through the generation problem as well as the fuel problem, then you're talking about your distribution system. Our distribution network is aged, very old, and it's loaded. We need to be able to increase investment into the distribution network in order to expand it, in order to make it more efficient by replacing the old transformers, by replacing the old substations, by replacing old cables. We need to do that so that we can reduce the high distribution losses, but also ensure that these transformers do not break down frequently.
Okay.
And this is why the issue about the levy needs to be put in perspective. The levy, the power sector levy, which are imposed on petroleum products to be able to raise financing to improve on the power sector infrastructure. We can discuss this further, but I think that, as I said earlier, it is in the right direction in order for us to be able to beef up our infrastructure requirement in the power sector.
Right, so there's still a bit more to come on the bulletin about what the president has had to say from the Flagstaff House. He's been speaking about corruption, his fight against corruption. He's also been speaking about the education sector, but also coming up in the bulletin, a lawyer for Britain accused of murdering his TV star girlfriend accuses security establishment of abusing his client's human rights as he makes his first appearance in court. We're taking a break, but we have more coming up. Please hold on. You're watching Joy News Prime, and we're returning to our stories on what the president has had to say at the news conference, his very first for this year at the Flagstaff House. And he's been defending, President Mahama has been defending his government's record on fighting corruption. He insists his government is committed to fighting the canker, revealing that the state has retrieved about 70 million Ghana cedis from individuals and companies who were wrongly paid.
Government is a continuum, and all of us must contribute our quota to the fight against corruption. We have institutional weaknesses, and traditionally what has happened in the past is that accountability is exacted when one government has gone out of power and a new government comes into power. Then it starts investigating the government that has gone out of power. But while the government is in power and issues are happening with corruption, traditionally they have not been investigated. This is the first government. And I made a pledge that any issues of corruption brought to my attention, I will have them investigated and dealt with. But you cannot be an adherent of constitutional democracy and be an admirer of arbitrary justice. There is due process. I was speaking to one of my colleague heads of state, and he said something very instructive. He said, when I was a military ruler, I just arrested the people, and they were guilty until they proved themselves innocent. He said, but today, as a civilian ruler, one, I can't arrest them, but even when I arrest them, they are innocent until I prove them guilty. That is democracy. We can't eat our cake and have it. As I'm speaking today, the Attorney General has been served. Somebody has filed a writ at the Supreme Court to say that the judgment, she had no jurisdiction, the court had no jurisdiction for that judgment they gave in the Woyome case. If we did not have the Constitution and I was head of the military government, I would have gone and grabbed the guy and locked him up until he's proved innocent. But you must go by due process. You must follow the law. Just this morning, they were going to issue the FIFA on Woyome, and then this writ was served on the Attorney General. So what should we do? The last I checked, the Attorney General has retrieved in excess of 50 million Ghana cedis from those I instructed money to be retrieved from. The JIDA case particularly, in the service contracts that they signed, They said they were taking loans to do the training. But JIDA as an institution is not mandated to give loans, so those loans were illegal.
The Executive Secretary of the Ghana Integrity Initiative, Vitus Badu Azim, however, says President Mahama should not be afraid of the politicization of corruption. Reacting to President Mahama's comments on what he's doing to fight and curb the canker, Mr. Azim advised the President to go all out and root out corruption.
If you are investigating and sanctioning members of your own political party, members of your own government, and extending it to members of the opposition that have been found to have engaged in corruption, then you should not be worried about people saying that your party is corrupt. The fact that you are taking action on allegations of corruption will rather vindicate you. People will say that, look, he's even investigating and sanctioning his own party members. So you can forget about the political talkers, but the entire Ghanaian will be happy that you are taking action against allegations of corruption involving members of your own political party, your own government, as well as people in the opposition.
The anti-corruption campaigner added that the percentage of monies collected from judgment debts mattered more than how much has been collected so far. He proposed that stringent measures should be taken against those who misappropriate state funds to serve as deterrent to others.
You call 70 million. It looks like a big sum of money. But what percentage of the total money that is out there that has been collected? That will make us know whether the effort is worth praising or not. If the 70 million of 1 billion cedis that is out there, then 70 million is nothing. Besides, they negotiated with some of these people and agreed on timelines. Mm-hmm. Have they met those timelines? They haven't. So when you just call 70 million as if, I mean, if it's out of 100 million, that's good. But if it's out of 1 billion, I don't think that's enough for us to be excited about. You can talk about the judgment case, debt cases. One would have expected that maybe government would have said that as a result of from the findings, the recommendations of the Judgment Debt Commission, these amounts of monies are out there, and we are going to collect them. We are giving them this number of days to recover them.
Right, so there's still a bit more coming from what the President has had to say from the Flagstaff House at his media briefing. Remember, he spoke for more than 2 hours, and we're trying to bring you just excerpts of that. But joining me in the studio right now is Kojo Yangsing. He's host of Joy FM Super Morning Show, and he was at the event, and he in fact asked a question. I'll be coming to you to tell me whether you think your question or you got a satisfactory answer to the question that you asked. But let's start off by how do you see the whole thing for you?
First of all, I thought that this new format is quite refreshing. The idea is that the president doesn't come and present you with information from which you must ask him questions. He just comes and stands up, and then anything that is an issue for you, ask, and he'll answer. Yeah. I thought that was good. Right. I want to see more of that. It's also quite brave, I've got to say, when you know how Ghanaian journalists can be. So I thought it was quite brave of him to adopt this format. But whether it was effective in the end is something that will be debated. For me, we have to assess both how the journalists performed as well as how the president handled
so how did the journalists perform?
I've got to say it was a mixed bag. There were some questions that were asked which I kind of wondered where they came from. I mean, I wondered, which sort of constituency of viewers or listeners or Ghanaians is particularly interested in the answer to that question.
Right.
But there were other questions which were basically what we've been talking about all these months. People ask questions about microfinance companies, about corruption, about Doomsaw, about the 2 Guantanamo Bay detainees. Lots of questions about them. So essentially, all the issues that are in the zeitgeist, the things that we're talking about around the water coolers, were represented in the questioning of the journalists. There were some questions that seemed to be softballs served for the president, because it even appeared that he had documentation and figures ready to answer some of the questions that were thrown at him.
It appeared, but it may not be so.
It may not be so.
People
That's
say
just
the
how it
president
seemed.
is really sharp, and so he may be, speaking off the cuff. And
that was obvious. He is sharp. He is prepared. He had the facts and the figures. He was speaking off the top of his head for most of his presentation. He knew his stuff. But of course, he also employed some of the very clever gimmicks of a great communicator.
Yeah.
So, for example, he has prepared certain information about what the government has done in terms of regulating microfinance. So you ask a question about what should be done for the people standing at the doors of microfinance companies now, and he will find a way of quickly moving it to the parts that he has prepared for, and deliver that information in a way that seems to be the answer to your question. Right. So yes, he's very, very well versed in these type of things, right. And he executed himself admirably.
Let's come to some of the facts that came out of it. The president talked about sole sourcing, for instance. You've been doing some fact checking.
I've been having a look at the Public Procurement Agency's website. The president gave a certain statistic. He said that over the years, the quantum of sole-sourced projects hasn't really gone up in his estimation. He quoted figures like 1.5 and 1.7% of all tendered contracts being sole sourced. So I was curious. I went to the Public Procurement Agency's website, ppagana.org, where you can search for the number of sole sourced projects on the books of government through PPA. And on this website, it says 503 projects currently have been sole sourced out of 1,497. So we're not exactly looking at 1.3% according to the website. We're looking at something more like 33%. But I think perhaps some clarification is needed on where the president got his figures from. Because according to the PPA's website, no, about a third of our projects are sole sourced.
Right. Before you go, do you think your question was answered satisfactorily?
Israel, I've got to say no. And what I wanted the president to tell me was why it appeared that all of the directives he had given on corruption, on even buying made in Ghana, had not been executed as yet, years after he had said them. So I wanted to know why his own people didn't appear to be doing what he had asked them. I didn't get an answer to that. He did talk about some instruction he had given for some money to be retrieved from Woyome, for example, which now is in court. Because as you're aware, writ has been served on the Attorney General on that particular matter. Although I've got to say, I don't know how that answers my question. Woyome himself said he would pay the money by the 31st of December. So to my estimation, by the 3rd of January, the first working day, some action should have been taken to address the fact that he had not paid by the date he said he would. Nothing was done, and now we're in court. So I think we've kind of missed the bus already on that one. So I don't really think it really spoke to the question I had for him.
Do you still want your answer?
Oh, please, yes.
All right, thank you very much, Kojo Yangsing,
thank you
for joining us. So Kojo Yangsing is a host of Joy FM Super Morning Show, and he was also at the Flagstaff House, and he asked the question. He says, well, he didn't quite get the answer he was looking for. You're watching Joy News Prime. We're taking a break. We have more still to come on what the president has been saying at the Flagstaff House, but right up after the break, we have business news. Please stay tuned. Right, time now for the business angle to what President Mahama has been saying, or the questions he's been answering at the Flagstaff House. And Etonam is here to take us all through it. Good evening to you, Etonam.
Good evening, Israel.
Right, what was one of the things that's struck you?
Or the fact that the president said that we're going to prosecute the defaulting microfinance institutions who have had people's money locked up in the microfinance institutions. And also, he also spoke about the withholding tax on services. Had been increased from 5 to 15%.
Yep.
And he says that they've written to the GRA to reduce it by half. So, yay.
All right, you take it away.
Now, President Mahama has assured service providers that the hike in withholding tax imposed on them from 5 to 15% will be reduced to 7.5% following the passage of the Income Tax Act 2015 Act 896 in September last year. There have been public outcry on some provisions of the Act, especially those relating to withholding taxes on the provision of services and the payment of tax on interest paid to individuals. Addressing the press today, President Mahama assured a letter had been written to and submitted to the GRA to review the rate.
There were two laws that taxes that were proposed, but it was noticed, and a letter had already gone to the Speaker stopping them. One was the 1% tax on profits from treasury bills, income from treasury bills. A letter had gone to the Speaker, asking for an amendment of that particular tax. The other one was the increase in tax on services, withholding tax on services to 15%. A letter had already gone reducing that to 7.5%. So I think that issue you talked about, has been dealt with in respect of those particular taxes that people complained about. It had been noticed and a letter had been sent even before the outcry began with regards to that.
Meanwhile, service providers are calling on government to review the 15% increase withholding tax on the service industry. Chief Executive of the Association of Ghana Industries, Seth Chuma Kwabwa, tells Joy Business the jump from 5 to 15% is too huge and will collapse the local industry, especially the SMEs. As part of the income tax review, government has increased withholding tax on services from 5 to 15%. What will be the impact on service providers? We are here to find out. According to government, the essence of the withholding tax regime on services is to improve tax compliance. It explains that it is not a final tax but a payment on account. Therefore, the increase in withholding tax on services to 15% is to encourage taxpayers to file their returns, after which they will be entitled to a credit for the amount withheld. This, however, does not come as good news to service providers. Seth Chuma Kwabwa is the Chief Executive Officer of the Association of Ghana Industries.
No, when there's a withholding tax, it means that when you provide service and the service is being paid for, 15% of whatever amount has been agreed on has to be deducted from the money that is being paid. So, and indeed, if a lawyer provides a service to, say, an SME, it means that that kind of money has to be taken from the payment that is going to be made to him. And it is, once it's withholding tax, it means that you can actually have access when the tax returns are done and all that. But in the practice, though, is that a lot of, we have so much informal sector, and the filing of tax returns is an issue. So anytime there's a withholding tax, what practically happens is that some of them are unable to recover. So they see it as a cost, which they add on to the service. It therefore makes the service cost higher. And that is where it affects, our SMEs.
He further explains that startup companies will suffer, giving undue advantage to foreign companies.
Concern is that the jump is huge, and especially for SMEs, and then the fact that most of the companies, the service companies, their margins are not that high. So if you tax it in the form of a withholding tax, which they are unsure of recovering because of the large informal sector, and then the SMEs sometimes who do not even file their tax returns, recovery is very difficult.
Etonamsi, Joy Business. So no need to worry because government is reviewing that. Now, the Finance Ministry has written to the Ghana.Revenue Authority to formalize the suspension of income tax on investments. Joy Business is learning that the letter was dispatched yesterday evening.
The ministry is said to have taken this action following reports that commercial banks are going ahead to charge the tax, despite an early announcement from the Ministry of Finance that the tax has been suspended. Some of the banks had told Joy Business that the only way implementation of the tax will be suspended is when they get an official communication from the Ghana.Revenue Authority. The bank's decision to go ahead with the tax should mean that if your investment had matured from, let's say, January 1 to 11, 2016, that commercial bank may have to take about 1% tax of expected income earned and pay to the Ghana.Revenue Authority. However, when contacted, the tax authorities maintained they also cannot write to the banks unless it gets a clear directive from the Finance Ministry. Sources say the letter from the Finance Ministry should get to the Ghana.Revenue Authority this morning for the necessary action to be taken on them. However, another source close to Parliament has maintained that the Finance Ministry may not have the necessary legal backing to go ahead with the action without parliamentary approval.
That was a Business Desk report. Now, President John Mahama has hinted of plans by government to prosecute non-compliant microfinance operators as part of measures to address the current crisis in the sector. The sector has for some time now witnessed some level of turbulence. The Bank of Ghana has withdrawn the licenses of 70 companies, while many depositors, especially in the Brongahaf region, agitate for their monies invested with affected companies to be paid back. Speaking at a press briefing today, President Mahama indicated government is committed to protecting the interests of depositors.
When I saw the category of even some of those who have lost money and been duped in this scheme, I was shocked. Intellectuals, professionals. Yeah. I'll expect that my uncle or somebody, illiterate uncle or somebody in the village, is the one who will fall prey to something like this. But intellectuals, heads of religious institutions, have taken collection and gone and put in. You know, so let's not play politics. Let's not play politics with this. Bank of Ghana will do its best to distribute whatever is available in conjunction with the companies. And I've asked the BNI to look for and identify all their properties. And let's put a lien on those properties so that even if we sell those properties and we get some money, we can still refund money to the people who lost it. But then we're going to prosecute them for fraud. And so they're currently in BNI custody. They've been remanded for a week. We'll go back to courts, and the investigation has started. And those who have cheated the people will pay for what they have done.
Now, time to go to the stock and commodity markets. Crude oil is still going down. It's hit $30 per barrel, and cocoa is also going down. And John is here to tell us what the implications are. I'm not happy, John. Exactly, as Etonam, every Ghanaian don't need to be happy about this. Actually, we're not spending much time on the Ghana stock exchanges because there's a lot more going on the commodities market as cocoa, gold, and crude keeps going down. And actually, some are actually blaming it on the economy of China going down. You know, as China actually grows, they consume a lot more of these. These are the numbers. As I was coming to studio, crude oil is actually trading the New York Mercantile Exchange at $30.57 per barrel. And that's crucial because this $30 per barrel figure is what analysts and some economists projected the number to be somewhere around March this year. And we are hitting that today being 12th of January 2016. Too early to hit these numbers. And therefore, even the $27 per barrel figure, we can achieve that even within this same month, looking at the rate that it is going. Yes, I mean, last 2 days, it was 34. Yesterday it was 33, 31. And then today it is 30. So the tendency to hit below 30 by Friday is very high. And therefore, Ghana should be very worried about it. Exactly. The oil is gone. The oil is gone.
It is totally gone. If you look at gold, gold keeps going. Okay. If you remember, in South Africa, a lot of these mining giants are actually sort of like laying people off. It's happening to Ghana. Anglo Gold Ashanti at a point in time didn't know exactly what they were doing because of these gold numbers. And they lost a key investor in there. And now the future of Anglo Gold Ashanti is hanging. Cocoa today lost $24 to close somewhere close to about 2,887.
That is bad.
That is very bad.
Tell me we have some good news with the dollar and CD.
And unfortunately, the dollar today, or the CD today, gained only against the euro. It lost to the United States dollars, the British pound, and the Chinese yuan. This is what's happening. So if you have investments here in Ghana, you are losing not only in dollar terms, inflation is eating it away, and of course the economy is also not that stable. And therefore, these are the dynamics. So macroeconomically, things are not really that well. But my point is that it will not be that late for the finance minister to go back to Parliament to say that, Charlie,
I came in here with about $57 in mind per barrel, but now it is 30. So my figures are wrong. So they need to go with a
supplementary budget.
With supplementary budget. That's exactly what's going to happen. So I think basically that is how it is. It's getting quite alarming, and we need to look at that.
It's getting alarming, John.
Extremely
Thank you so much for that. On that note, we wrap up with business. My name is Eton Amse. Many thanks for your time. For more news, log on to myjoyonline.com. Oh, Israel, really?
Sorry, I crossed your camera. But you guys, you know, I'm looking at the red you're putting up.
Yeah.
Sometimes you make these things look so gloomy. I mean, guys, we have a hospitable country warm enough to welcome to Gitmo detainees. So the country is not so bad.
Israel, you're sarcastic.
Do we have enough to actually do this?
Israel.
All right.
Many thanks for your time.
You're watching Joy News Prime, and we have some more stories, as I told you, coming from what the president had to say at the Flagstaff files. But right now, we're looking at other stories. And the Health Insurance Providers Association of Ghana, HISPAC, has served notice it will suspend services to patients across the country if the National Health Insurance Authority fails to pay their claims which are in arrears. HISPAC says all payments to their members have been suspended pending the conclusion of a probe by the Bureau of National Investigations into NHIA activities. The BNI has been investigating cases of fraudulent payment to some health institutions and recently froze the account of former CEO Sylvester Mensah. Executive Director of HISPAC, Frank Toblu, says the decision to suspend payment to service providers is unjustifiable.
You are conducting an investigation, and then the health institutions are also continuing to provide services. So they must also be reimbursed somewhere along the line to enable them to continue to provide the services to the people of this country. So if you are conducting an investigation, okay, and then money is not going to the people to enable them procure medicines and other medical consumables to continue provision of services, then we are in a serious case. So what we are suggesting is that, fine, the National Health Insurance Authority should be able to give us at least 2 months in arrears, and then subsequently every month money should be given to us. That is the kind of payment plan we are suggesting.
So in the event that NHIA grants you this, or the BNI allows for this to be done, and it turns out that some of the service providers have actually bloated their claims, can we come back for the money?
Why not? You know, let me cite this as an example. There are instances where some providers have been paid in excess, mistakenly. I might say this, mistakenly.
Is it always a mistake?
Most often than not, it's mistakenly, because you see, when it comes to the health sector, you know, there are instances where you make a payment to a service provider, you know, and then you go back to make a claim of the money you have paid in excess. It's there. Those things are there. It happens. And I know a lot of facilities who had experienced such a situation. Okay. Now, but what I'm trying to say is that when you're critically talking about fraud, you see, you need a clinical mind to talk about fraud in medical sector. You understand? Because when you're talking about certain health conditions and you don't have a clinical mind, you'll be making a very sad mistake. That is a fact on the ground.
I don't understand what that means.
No, what I'm trying to say is that, for example, if you are suffering from malaria, okay, when you go to the hospital after the clinician listening to you, okay, the clinicians maybe considering the kind of history you have given him will determine whether you are suffering from malaria or possibly, you know, typhoid, because typhoid and malaria present a common conditions. You understand? So in this respect, it is possible for the clinicians to suspect malaria and query typhoid, okay? And that investigation will be conducted. So if you are not careful and the person go in one way by treating, let's say, one of the health conditions, and then you see that the two conditions are presented over there, and then somebody who vets that claims, you see, when they are vetting the claims, they are supposed to pay for the two, they're supposed to pay for one of the conditions that is treated, okay? One that is taken as a principal diagnosis, they will pay for it. And then the one that is queried, probably they will pay for the investigation being conducted, because, and then the service, the tariff there, they will not pay for it. That is accepted. But if per mistake, and that is paid for, and then it is noted later on, they will definitely come back for it. So that one is not fraud. It's a genuine mistake. Probably the health insurance scheme has committed, and then they come to realize it later and come back for the money. It's genuine. But in a situation where Kofi Mensah is repeated, let's say 2-3 times, okay, by the service provider, obviously that is supposed to be a fraud.
Now, a lawyer for the Briton accused of murdering his television star girlfriend is accusing the security establishment in Ghana of abusing his client's human rights. Arthur Simpson Kent was arrested in the country where he is believed to have fled after allegedly murdering Tian Blake of the popular television series EastEnders and her 2 children. His lawyer is also accusing the police and BNI of breaching Ghana's laws on extradition. Joy News' Joseph Opoku Gakpo was in court for Joy News for the suspect's first appearance.
There were heated exchanges in court as the state requested more time to investigate the case. Kent's lawyer, Justice Shrem Sai, claimed he had been denied access to his clients since the arrest was effected last Saturday. He also claimed the security agencies have breached the Extradition Act 1960, which requires that before someone can be arrested and extradited, an arrest warrant must have been issued by a local court. The lawyer therefore demanded that Kent be discharged. But Principal State Attorney Rebecca Ajare told the court events unfolded very fast between when the British authorities alerted them about his presence in the country and the arrest, hence the inability to go through the required legal processes. She demanded more time to fix the procedural issues and to conduct further investigations, which the magistrate Rosemond Diodia Ajere agreed with. The magistrate remanded the suspect in BNI custody to reappear on 26 January 2016. Lawyer Sai told the media after the hearing he was unhappy with the ruling.
Clearly, as you saw in court, we are dissatisfied with everything that has been done, and at the appropriate time, as you heard the judge say, we are going to address these issues and we will trace it up to the very prosecution of this case. We believe the procedures that are provided under law in this country, when it comes to matters of arrest for extradition, were not followed, for which reason Arthur must be released. But as you heard the judge say, these arguments will be properly taken on 26 when we return to court.
Arthur Kent had a calm demeanor when he appeared in court today. When asked by the magistrate whether he was being treated well in custody, Kent did not comment but responded in the affirmative by nodding his head. For Joy News, Joseph Opoku Gakpo reporting.
Now, motorists using the Bree Mountains Road are worried about what they say appears to be the lack of action on falling boulders on the road. Traffic on a section of the road has been diverted to avert possible tragedy from the sedimentary rocks which are gradually sliding down the mountain. Jennifer Kwama has more on this report.
Motorists plying the Ebri-Accra Road have been diverted onto the other side due to this huge sliding rock falling from the Ebri Mountains is gradually falling down into the road, and there are fears that it could cause serious harm and danger to motorists. A huge boulder could be seen slowly sliding down the Ebri Mountain and has caused the municipal authorities to block off sections of the road. This is not a new phenomenon. According to residents of the area, this incident started at least 2 years ago. Motorists, however, complain that the authorities in the area have done little to arrest the situation.
I dangerous, I mean.
The chief asked the young men to remove the stones, but we thought that more would be done. And now the road has become a death trap.
But up to now, I didn't that's I a death trap.
A bonus status had an actually, but
this rock started falling a long time ago, and we've talked about it on several occasions. But neither the DC nor the MP has done anything about it.
According to the NADMO coordinator for Ekwapim South, Okanta Dankwa, when the rocks first started falling, the assembly initiated actions to remove them, but were advised to stop by the Minister of Roads and Highways, Alhaji Inusaf Husseini.
So we contracted about 5 people to remove the rocks that were falling out there. The rocks are falling from when we reach Peduasi to Ayimengsa, that is within the road there. So we started something like that, and the highways came. They came to tell us that the work is too tedious for us, so we should stop. So they sacked all our men there, and they assured us that they will bring the whole thing to an end, bidding the whole area and give it to a contractor.
You're watching Joy News Prime. We're taking a break. Up next, we bring international news. All right, so what's coming up on Joy News Interactive? Aisha Ibrahim is here.
We're going to interact a lot because there's a lot more. Guess where it's coming from?
Flagstaff House. Mahama speaks.
So President John Mahama addressed the media on pertinent issues affecting the country. Were you satisfied with the responses given by the president?
For me, I think the president gave answer that to certify as Ghanaians, but I don't think it's right.
I think he was being honest. He touched on issues that the ordinary Ghanaian wants to hear, the answers that the ordinary Ghanaian is yearning so hard to listen to.
And still on the president's encounter with the press, he stated that Ghanaians are more in danger of dying from road accidents than from the get-more detainees. Do you agree? Well, we'll be talking about all of that, and we'll be sharing your views about today's Flagstaff media briefing on all our social media platforms. The interactive segment is brought to you by Airtel. My name is Aisha Ibrahim. Let's get interactive when I return within the hour.
And certainly, I shall be returning within the hour, same with entertainment and sports. Please stay tuned. We'll be back in a bit. Right, time now for a recap of our top stories on Joy News Prime. President Mahama has downplayed public anxiety about the presence of 2 former Guantanamo terror suspects in Ghana, assuring they are not as dangerous as they are made to appear. President Mahama, who was taking questions from the media at the Flagstaff House, has meanwhile justified the taxes on petroleum products and high utility bills introduced recently as a way to address the low tax compliance culture amongst Ghanaians. Lawyer for Britain accused of murdering his TV star girlfriend accuses security establishment of abusing his client's human rights as he makes his first appearance in court. In business, government has moved to formalize suspension of taxes on investment income and the review in withholding taxes. Now, President John Dramani Mahama has described a promise by the opposition New Patriotic Party to restore teacher training allowances when it comes to power as mere propaganda. He explained that after upgrading the teacher training institutions to tertiary level, same as other teacher training universities in Cape Coast and Winneba, there was no sense of equity to continue to pay them allowances. Teacher trainees in Ghana for many years enjoyed allowances provided them by government as an incentive until recently when it was abolished. And President Mahama says the decision is irrevocable despite the criticism.
We had teacher training institutions that could not fill their spaces because they were under a quota system. And so we had, in all the teacher training institutions, we had only 9,000 students who were under training, and we paid them allowances to train. It was an incentive for them to train. Now there are 2 issues here. Teacher training takes place in the colleges of education and also takes place in University of Education Winneba and University of Cape Coast. At the time, the colleges of the education were not tertiary degree awarding institutions. There was no problem because we're training professional teachers, and if we paid them an allowance, there was not a problem. But then we raised them to tertiary institutions and brought them to the same level as University of Education Winneba and University of Cape Coast, also training teachers. And so in these ones, we don't pay teacher training allowances. We say go for students' loan. But then in these ones that are also tertiary institutions and degree awarding, we say you will pay you teacher training allowance. First, there's no sense of equity in that. So that was the first problem. And so once we raised them to tertiary status and made them degree and diploma awarding, we said, look, let's create equity between them and the other universities, because we've created even the Student Loans Trust. And so you can go to the Student Loans Trust and take a loan to finance your education, and then you pay it over years when you have completed. Now that will allow us to increase enrollment. So with the banning of the quota and the removal of the training allowances, enrollment into teacher training institutions has increased by 63%. So it means that that extra 63% of students who today can go and train and be teachers and come out and get employment and work would not have had space in these teacher training institutions if we had continued to pay the teacher training allowances.
Now, staying with what the President has had to say from the Flagstaff House, lawyers of Smarties Management Limited, the company that rebranded government buses at a controversial amount, have met with the Attorney General to discuss a refund plan for the excess amount in the contentious contract. This was disclosed by President John Mahama at the media briefing on Tuesday. The 3.6 million cedis that was given to Smarties for rebranding 116 government buses became a matter of public concern, as many Ghanaians were incensed by the outrageous fee charged by the company owned by actress Selassie Ibrahim. According to President John Mahama, government is bent on retrieving the 1.9 million cedis excess payment as advised by the Attorney General and will not relent on it.
There were defects in the procurement procedure. If you read the Attorney General's report, there were defects in the procurement procedure. The project involved respraying the buses. A lot of people think that it's just those stickers on the glass that were put on. The buses came in a dark orange color, and the justification that was given was to differentiate them from the City Express buses that work outside the urban centers, because these were being brought as urban and city buses. And so it was decided to respray them. So the buses were actually resprayed in 4 colors. And so I think what the Attorney General did was to contact some car companies and ask them and say, if you got this contract to respray these buses and put the labeling, advertising labeling on the windows, how much will you charge? And so they gave her a figure. And based on that figure and extrapolation, she determined that there was an excess payment, and the company has been asked to refund the excess payment. I know that, I think yesterday, on Friday, the lawyers of the company met with the Attorney General to agree on a phased payment, a payment plan to refund what has been described as the excess. And so the Attorney General will go ahead and take that.
Now, in some other news, 4 persons have so far successfully filed their nominations to contest the presidential slot of the Convention People's Party ahead of the November general elections. The names include Joseph Ejepong, Bright Oblite Akwete, and former party general secretary Ivor Greenstreet. Also in the contest is Samia Nkrumah, the daughter of the first president and founder of the CPP. However, one of the aspirants, Mr. Onzi Anwar, could not file his nomination because he reportedly did not meet the requirements for the race at the close of nominations on Monday, January 11. Right. Up next, we bring you entertainment on Joy News Prime. Please stay tuned.
Entertainment news is...
Right, time for entertainment, and Miss G has joined me, but what's coming up is quite controversial. I mean,
okay,
One Love is in the news again.
Yes, but I thought you forgot my name, so I was like, okay.
No. I was just thinking about what was coming up, which had to do with One Love and the story making the round. So, well, you give us the lowdown.
Yes, of course. One Love has been trending. Kempinski Hotel has been trending as well because apparently One Love was invited by an organization called Little Angels to be honored for something he had worked with them on. And then he showed up at Kempinski Hotel in his traditional look, you know, with no foot and I think in his wrap skirts and all that. And then the security man allows him in to the inner foyer of the hotel. Then a manager walks up to the security man, whispers something to the security man, and then after the security comes to tell him that, okay, you're not allowed in here because we consider your look as inappropriate for our outfit. So One Love has been narrating the story to us, and this is what he has to say.
By a charity called Little Angels. They were having a dinner. They invited me because they wanted to show their appreciation for me being part of this charity for the past 3 years. So I was like, cool, I'm going to get some expensive food to eat. So I got there on time. The security guards, though even one of them said he will even escort me upstairs in case I get lost. So we got into the place. Then some white guy came, I'm assuming, and I was told later by the security that he is the food and beverage manager. He told the security something. The security said, oh, I'm here for the dinner. Then the security went to find the host of the dinner to come and meet. And by the time the host of the dinner came, I had come to the understanding from overhearing words that there's no shoes, no entry policy, so I won't be allowed in there. However, he didn't behave like somebody who knows their job, and I felt disrespected. At the very moment, they need to have social media people working for Kempinski who would tweet a public apology and do all this other damage control. But I haven't seen a tweet from them yet to apologize. So I will also not stop tweeting or retweeting things that people are tweeting about Kempinski.
Kempinski in the news again.
Yes. But, you know, we spoke to some people at Kempinski and they said that, well, they tried to get to One Love to make amends because they realized that they could have handled the situation better than they did. And the manager, the so-called manager who actually asked the security man to let him out of the place, called to make amends with him. So One Love is okay with Kempinski Hotel.
No, so let's get something right. If you walk into Kempinski and you're dressed the way One Love was dressed, they walk you out.
Yes, apparently they have a notice that says that there's a statutory way to dress when you're coming to Kempinski. And of course, One Love didn't dress to suit that statutory form of dressing. That's how come they let him out of the place. Apparently, it's on a notice there. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So.
Well, yeah, we've heard.
So next time you want to take someone to Kempinski, make sure that they are well dressed. You know.
Okay.
Yeah, okay.
I hear you.
All right. Okay.
I hear you, Kempinski.
Okay. So guess who is acting all of a sudden?
Nanaba was there.
Oh, Nanaba's is dead. It's old news. Shatta Wale has featured in a movie called Shattered Life. It tells us that, you know, Van Vika and some other guys have decided to put together a story about his life. And then they want him to feature in the movie as well.
Oh, wow.
So now we woke up today and we've seen trailers of a movie called Shattered Life. And we are assuming that this is the so-called movie that he's been talking about. So here is he speaking to Becky, and then we put together the trailer of Shattered Life.
You know, I'm with Van Vika. We putting up a movie about my life story. So I believe it's going to be hectic though, but it's part of my work. So we'll work on it.
You're going to act?
Yeah, I'm going to act.
I thought he was writing the story about you and then somebody else's.
No, he was like, I need to be in there so people will feel the spirit. So it's going to be a great movie.
I'm sure it will be your second movie because you've been in
a couple of 2 movies, but I think since this one is going to be my story, it's going to be my first movie that, you know, I've ever brought out, and I want to be in movies as well, so I'm working on that. So I think people should watch out.
All right, so very soon we're going to be hearing Shattered Lives 1 and 2.
No, we ain't holy.
Okay.
Then we say kakai. It's Shattered Life, you know the way he speaks with so much energy, you know. He'll be doing the promo for them, I guess. But it tells us that we could also feature in movies, you know, very soon, you know.
We could.
Yes, because, you know, Nanaba is featuring a movie, Shatta Wale is in the movie.
Yeah, so Van Vika,
you know, the same way you did it for Shatawale, you know.
Okay, so you're Shirley Frimpong, so the same way you did it for Nanaba, do it for us as well. So, you know, cool. We play a role in the movie. You'll be the gangster.
And you'll be what?
And I'll be the last killer. Anyway, so I know you know the Holy Song very well. Do you know the Holy Song by Shatawale very well?
Yeah.
Do you know there's a line in that song that says, Haja for you, they call her Mona. Have you ever paid attention to that line?
I haven't paid attention to the lyrics.
Okay, okay. So there's a line in the song that says, talks about Haja for real Mona, who happens to be, I think, Kempon's wife. I don't know whether it's ex-wife or wife. I don't know. But Shatawale constantly has been talking about.
Hold it. Shatawale belongs to that love quadrangle or whatever.
So he's always been showering praises on her. I've seen pictures of both of them on social media, and everybody has been wondering what's the relationship between Hajia For Real and Shatawale. Shatawale says she is his mommy.
Like, I'd say a godmother to me because she likes me very much. She always like wants to do stuff for me anytime I'm in the States, and you know, and she's very close to me. I like her too, you know. We have to even be in Miami, you know, but she just sent me a message as I came here that, you know, they are there, you know. And she always wants me to be around. She feels I'm real. That's what she tells me every time. So I think.
So you're not dating?
No, I'm not dating her. She just likes me. She's my mommy. Mommy.
She got things you don't know where.
Hold it.
Mommy.
Everybody hold it.
Mommy.
Hold it. Just go down and hold it.
This is, so how do you call her? You know, like they call the older folks who have, you know, young girls as their dates as sugar daddies. So this one, how do you call it?
Oh.
Because she's younger.
You know, yeah. Well, she's younger, okay, so it doesn't apply.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't apply that way.
It doesn't apply at all.
No,
so Hajia For Real.
You have to look, yeah, let's just go
Hajia For Real. Call her Mona. She got something, what was it? She's got something that we don't know about. Only Shatawale knows about.
Shatta movement.
Charlie.
Shatta movement is moving everywhere.
SM for life. Yeah. Anyway, so let's move on. And this time around is Kenai Suba, who is talking about promoting the African smoke, which we know as Batakari. You know, he says that he always has a tour once a year to promote the wearing of Batakari. You know that one ministry has also come out to say that every first Friday of the month, we should do well to wear the smoke. Yeah. So he says that he spoke to the President John Mahama, and President John Mahama says he's going to make him an ambassador of Batakari. Yes.
There is our own mayor. It's our grandfather. It's traditional wear, and it's important. We should not forget Batakale because it's a fashion show and it's musician also is coming to perform. Somebody like Abadam Kwakase, he will come to perform, and one of Kubolo Yapono, President Mama also called me and he said the plan I also bring up is a very good plan. So he will take me to be ambassador in this Batakale.
Yeah, Kena Yesoba.
Yeah,
Batakari ambassador.
So you two are what ambassador?
Join you as ambassador.
Yeah, that's great. It's true. You are. So, you remember I told you that the premiere of Ghana Must Go earlier this year, Yvonne Okoro was chastised for wearing something people thought was inappropriate and was too skimpy for the event.
Which I disagree.
You totally disagreed. Now, the Spiral Festival took place over the weekend, and she was adjudged the best dressed celebrity for that occasion. So, you can see the picture of her on the screen, and of course, it goes a long way to tell that, well, she could dress, you know, to actually please those who are the ones, you know, making the judgments.
See, it depends on the occasion. So she decides.
But it was another movie premiere. This was a movie premiere.
And it also depends on her mood.
Oh, okay.
So on one night, she feels like, okay, I want to show a bit more flesh.
You seem to know her better than everybody else.
On another night, she says, okay, I'm shutting it all off.
Yeah.
You ain't going to see anything.
Yeah, so that's, that's her looking stunning in that one.
It's all right. I mean, you don't wear the same kind of outfit all the time.
No, nobody does that.
Exactly. And you don't always keep braids. Sometimes you have your kai look.
Yeah.
Yes, that's all right. So let's let her change it, you know.
She's
depending
enjoying
on
herself.
her mood, and enjoy herself and feel free. All right.
So quickly before I go, so the movie Dry by Stephanie Linus, who was formerly known as Stephanie Okereke, is doing so well. It's a movie that tells a story about child marriage in Nigeria, and she shot some part of it out there. She got an entertainment film distribution organization called ARC to distribute her movie all the way in the US for her. So that's a great one for Stephanie Linus.
All right.
Yes.
All right. That's good for her.
Yeah. So
we're happy for her.
Yeah. So that's how I end the entertainment segment here with you, Israelite.
Thank you very much, Miss G.
I hope to have some more chocolates. Thank you.
No problem. We can talk about the chocolates when we're done with the bulletin.
Okay.
Yeah. All right. Thank you very much, Miss G, for bringing us entertainment. Up next, we bring you sports with Gary Smith. Please stay tuned.
Entertainment news.
All right, so Gary Smith is here.
Yes, I am here.
Yeah. We're having a conversation about Ballon d'Or, and then they caught us. All right.
But it's so important that the two of us have to be talking about it off air. You know, yesterday when we were talking about the fact that the two superstars were nominated,
Messi
and Ronaldo. One question I wanted to ask you, do you think, since 2008, it's been just Ronaldo or Messi?
Right.
Do you think it's becoming a ball?
No, it's not, because we also have this rivalry that's been going on where people are looking at Messi and how many goals Messi has scored and against how many Ronaldo has scored. So I think it keeps the excitement going. I don't think it's such a ball. Especially when you're having two fantastic players and they play really good.
Yeah.
They play really good. So I'm expecting that this season, Ronaldo is going to come up and play a lot better than Messi.
So the fact of the matter is that Ronaldo won 2 years in a row. Messi didn't win it, and then he's come to win again. So maybe Messi might do another 2 years in a row, and then Ronaldo will come, and they'll keep doing it until they are 40 years.
Somebody else will come.
You sure about that?
Yeah, I think somebody else is coming.
So I want you to do the news with me today. Bayern Munich captain Philipp Lahm, he has called on FIFA to scrap the Ballon d'Or award, which he calls the world's best striker award. Now, the World Cup winning captain. Okay, good. So Philipp Lahm says that the Ballon d'Or has become boring. Do you agree?
Yeah, I fully agree, because as you discussed it already, it's only a changing title between the best strikers in the world, like Lionel Messi and Cristiano Ronaldo. And no one else will have a chance the next few days, because in my point of view, it's a prize for the best striker FIFA did till now.
Okay, now considering that Israel here, and say hello to Israel, my colleague here.
Hi.
Hi, Israel.
Okay, so Israel is saying that if we have the two best players in the world since 2008, and they deserve to be winners, I mean, who cares, Israel? Isn't that your point?
And when they're trying to outdo each other, actually.
Well, I don't see any alternative in this way, because Philipp Lahm described how it works when he did it for the German national team as a captain. It was anywhere in October or something like that, and he couldn't imagine what will happen, so he voted for German players. I think it's normal. And now nobody knows how it works really. And Lahm would like to have some Facebook likes, for example, to choose and to vote for this Ballon d'Or. Perhaps it's a good idea, better idea than the they did now.
Okay, Hadi, let me explain to Israel. So what Philip Lam was saying in his column today,
right.
You know, Cristiano Ronaldo is the most followed footballer on Facebook.
Yeah.
Followed by Leo Messi. Neymar is not close behind. So Philip Lam is saying that, well, if it has become a popularity contest, then we might as well vote on Facebook.
Use Facebook
yes,
to
Facebook today. But Hadi, finally though, how serious is the fact that the Ballon d'Or has come under scrutiny? Do you think that FIFA will take it seriously enough to change the formats? Because currently, I personally think it's good because we have 206 or 209 football associations, coaches, you know, captains and journalists voting, and it represents what the whole world thinks. So what would you say should be the new format, Hadi?
Well, perhaps you know that the Italian Federation didn't vote this year because, for example, Gigi Buffon wasn't in the list to vote. And I think the next few years, a lot of federations will not vote this Ballon d'Or. And I think perhaps there's an alternative between either Facebook or a worldwide journalist to vote World Player of the Year. And you must see that football is not only for strikers. It begins with goalkeepers, with defenders, with midfield players and strikers. So I think we must find a new level for voting. That's the most important thing. But I don't think that that's the most important thing FIFA has to do now in this moment. Okay. I think that there are more important things to do for FIFA.
Okay.
All right. Thank you very much, Hadi, and guten Nugget.
Yeah. Thank you. Good night.
Guten Nugget, Hadi. So, Hadi Hasselbrook is the editor of the Kicker Sports magazine, Germany's biggest.
But they have a point, though, when they say that it shouldn't just be about strikers, because football is not just about strikers.
That's the point.
You know, because except that, well, if you're going to do, you're going to have the world footballer, best footballer, and you're going to concentrate on goalkeepers, it wouldn't be that exciting.
Yeah, but you see, it's also a testament to how good those two guys are. I mean, they have taken the level of football to such absurd heights that when they retire, it's going to be boring even voting for the Ballon d'Or because
no, but I'm sure before I'm sure before they retire, some other great is going to come.
But check out this statistic: Messi and Ronaldo in the past 7 seasons have scored an average of 50 goals a season. I mean, which human being does that?
You never know. There's some guy playing for
Kwabebrim
United who's going to pop up in the next season. So just hold it.
Okay. All right. So that's it for the FIFA Ballon d'Or. You can get more reaction on myjoyonline.com. Now, speaking of elections, today was a big day for Kwesi Nyantakyi as well. He was re-elected president for the West African Zone B, and more importantly for him, it meant that he was able to get the reins of power in West Africa for another 4 years, 2016 to 2020. The election came off at the Movenpick Hotel here in Accra, and it was presided by a lot of WAFU officials from 7 countries who make up the federation. Kwesi Nyantakyi had 4 votes, while his opponent, Jibrila Hamidou from Niger, had 3 votes. So Kwesi Nyantakyi will be the WAFU president for the next 3 years. In the Ghana Premier League, let's get some news from Kwabena Yeboah. The veteran journalist hopes teams will step up in their preparations when the date for the resumption of the league is confirmed.
Collectively, a number of the teams didn't do that well, but I'm not here to be critical of those teams. As I indicated, since they do not know when the season is going to start, I guess the coaches themselves are confused as to how to, prepare their teams, whether to go slowly or go hyper. They unsure of what to do. So it's difficult to just use the G6 to assess most of the teams. And I do hope that once the FA announces a firm date for the commencement of the league, most of the teams will put their acts together.
So Kwabena Yeboah speaking there. Don't forget that the Ghana Premier League is still in limbo we are not too sure of when it's going to begin, but the G6 tournament has just ended. Asante Kotoko have been champions, and following that, Asante Kotoko have actually, they're on the trip to Libya where they will be playing in a couple of friendly matches. Other teams are also getting ready for the tournament. Finally, before we go, in the Barclays Premier League, it's Manchester United who are in action. Bournemouth are currently leading 1-0 against West Ham United. Aston Villa 0-0 against Crystal Palace. And Newcastle are trailing to Man United, who are leading by 2-1. The penalty that started it all was from Wayne Rooney. For more information on this story and more, head over to myjoyonline.com. Elsewhere, you can see all the repeats of these videos that you've seen, especially the Skype, also on the Joy News on TV page. My name is Gary L. Smith. I'm back tomorrow.